G'day everyone, Stu Lees here for Leads on a Shoestring, our free workshop for this month. Thank you for joining me, and thank you for watching if you're joining me later. I know these live streams and webinars are hard to get to, so if a lot of you will be watching this in a recording, so thank you for doing that too. I just want to highlight a couple of things. On my right hand side down here is my ability to look at comments on the YouTube link. I'll be looking at them live, but I may not see them straight away because I want to get through a reasonably packed agenda. So what I will do is, if I don't see your comment whilst I'm broadcasting live, I will endeavor to reply to anything later. Of course, when people watch recordings later as well, you might watch a comment, it might be a month or two later, you might be watching this now and wanting to comment, then do so, because I get notified by my YouTube account when anyone comments, and I'm happy to reply, happy to answer questions and help you. All right, so I am Stu. My brand is the Shoestring Marketer. I have a marketing agency as well. But today I'm your marketing coach, and I am your marketing advisor and trainer. Leads on a Shoestring is our workshop. And so the target today is to help people who are really service businesses, or where you're trying to attract other businesses as clients, so B2B. You might be a personal trainer trying to get new clients into your training programs. You might be an online business trying to get people to subscribe to something. You might be an accountant trying to get your next business client. That's what this workshop's all about. So if that sounds like you, if you're looking for humans to sell a service to, or humans to sell some sort of online product to, then you're in the right place. A little bit about me. I've been in marketing about 22 years now, but I didn't come from a marketing background from a training perspective. I actually had a small IT services business back in the early 2000s. And the challenge that I struck as a small-time entrepreneur, sort of when I got to about 3 staff, I was doing networking, I was doing a little bit of cold calling, I was in a BNI group, and I was one of those people who was proudly telling people, all of my business comes from word of mouth. But as that business grew, and as my appetite to scale that business grew, I ran into a bit of a problem, which was that I didn't see the mechanisms that were bringing in new clients working at scale. Okay, so then there's only so many networking events I can go to. There were so many people that I knew who could give me word of mouth referrals, and I needed to look for a different way. I tried many things, and in the end, I got a whole lot of coaching and advice from a sales coach. I worked with a lot of entrepreneurs who were really great at online marketing. I engaged with agencies. I spent a ton of money. I read a lot of books, like the books behind me. And over about a year and a half, I really sort of hit the sweet spot with lead generation for my business, where we were getting a lot of really high quality leads through. And I was having these meetings. And this is what I hope for you, right? I hope for any services business where you have a meeting with someone, first time, perhaps it's on Zoom or face-to-face, and one of the things that people say to you in that meeting is, look, I feel like I already know you, right? And that could be through the content you've sent, could be the emails that you are, diligently sending to them. It could be the videos or the posts that you're making on social. But that, one of the wonderful things about really good lead generation marketing is that when you have these meetings with people, there's already a huge degree of trust. There's already a huge degree of kind of understanding that you might be the right person to help them, right? Which is so different to this world that we're so used to of kind of cold calling or outreach marketing, where they don't really know who you are when you meet them. And so we're here to talk about that process today. So I'm going to start off by adding my slides to the screen. Oh, great. We've got a couple of people commenting already. Thanks for coming. And so today's session is roughly an hour. I'll try and get it lower than an hour, but we're going to keep it really, really simple. I've already got a typo here in our agenda. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to talk about is the problem with lead generation for most companies, particularly small companies, right, where you don't have a big team of marketers, you don't have a huge budget. I'm going to talk about the problems that lead to challenges with lead generation. I'm going to go through a marketing strategy that I have built and have used for many, many, many years on lead generation. What it doesn't say down the bottom here is I'm going to talk through my top 3 ways for capturing leads. And at the very end, around Q&A, I'm just going to talk briefly about a couple of tools that I have encountered, which have blown me away, around how to really, when you get a good lead generation strategy together, you get content together, there's a couple of tools that I have found that really put things into light speed. Okay, so we'll get past this and let's talk about the problem for small businesses and lead generation. Now, what we're trying to do here with lead generation is ultimately turn complete strangers into a customer. Okay, and that back in the old days we used to do all sorts of things, and it wasn't too difficult. To be honestly, when I first was in business in sort of 2003, 2004, getting new clients wasn't tough. Now we're 20 years later, it's a lot tougher these days, and here's a couple of reasons why it's difficult to get into the head of customers and actually have them turn up as a sales lead. Number one, all of our media, but in particular social media, is saturated. Okay, there are so many people posting with social media. It is not being helped by the fact that a lot of the social media stuff that is being posted now is through people using AI, right? So, which increases the amount of posts that are there, but the number of people on social media hasn't changed. So we've got a really big saturation point. So getting people's attention on social media and on media channels is extremely difficult. Number 2, not only is our target customer bombarded on their phones and on their screens with all of this different posts, but they're getting bombarded with sales offers. Okay, so everyone's wanting to, and we're kind of doing it wrong because we're putting sales offers on social media, and I'll get to that. So the more sales offers people see, that was when they see your sales offer on social, when they see your offer to work with them or whatever it happens to be, their trust is extremely low. It's never been lower because the amount of media that they see, the amount of offers they see, and then to take that a little bit further, a lot of the offers people are seeing for your services, whatever you're selling to them, they're seeing from offshore as well. Okay, so trust levels have never been lower. As I talked about with my business back when I started out, word of mouth marketing, it's still there, but it's never really enough to scale, particularly when a lot of customers, when they're trying to solve a problem, they're asking the internet first. They're asking their friends they're asking social media groups first before they're asking their friends. So it's not just that there's less word of mouth marketing because there's more opportunities and more avenues for people to find solutions outside of what used to be just, I'm just going to ask a friend, who do you use for your insurance? Who do you use for your accounting or for your graphic design or whatever it is that they need at the time. Okay. And the other thing that we're finding more and more of, I've said it here that people are not picking up the phone. Look, people are still picking up the phone. Cold calling does work for some people, but the numbers have gotten a lot lower and will continue to get a lot lower as more and more people from different generations become your buyers. Okay, so I want to be really clear there. The cold calling, I've always had a challenge with cold calling being a really, really difficult thing to do for so many people, but it's also, it's a numbers game, right? So if you've ever done cold calling or you're into cold calling, it's a numbers game. Now the problem is there's less people who actually pick the phone up, right? So that's an issue with the numbers. The other problem is people are not publicizing their phone numbers as often as they used to be because of things like automated phone calling platforms. Understand that's going to get worse. And one of the reasons why it's going to get worse is because AI tools have now turned into cold calling AI tools. And so those people whose phone numbers are on lists and registers are going to start getting more and more frequent cold calling from robots. And those robots are going to sound like humans. And again, we're going to get this hyper saturation happening. So that's part of the problem, right? Which is our customers' world has changed. Now, the other part of the problem is a lot of you are probably doing it wrong as well. So one of the things I see so often, and it's actually hurting the customer, which ultimately hurts us service providers, is people using social media to post advertising. Okay, so you might be an accountancy firm, you might be a marketing firm, you might be someone selling engineering supplies to people. And if your social media account, if your business page or even your private social media account on LinkedIn or on Facebook or on Instagram is essentially taking offers and putting them on social, then you're probably getting very little engagement and not many people seeing those posts. And that is because that not only is social media a saturated channel, but understand people do not pick up their phone in order to look at ads. They're going to scroll past ads very quickly. And what happens with the social media algorithms is when people scroll past your posts, then they are not going to show your post to many people. So it ends up just meaning being predominantly a pointless exercise for most companies who are posting advertising style posts on your socials. Okay, people pick up their phone on social predominantly to be entertained and sometimes to learn. That's the common use case within social media. So hoping that when customers are not responding to cold calling and hoping that, if word of mouth is drying up, by just moving to social media and posting stuff that is selling and pitching your products is not going to work. And it doesn't work. Okay. The other thing that we find with people with marketing is even when people do look at your posts or do look at perhaps your emails and things that you're, trying to use to get people's attention, more often than not, small business service providers are asking for a meeting immediately. Which is way too early for most of our customers because our customers have lost trust, right? So we've explained the problem for at the customer end. We're not helping ourselves by asking for a meeting immediately. We're not helping by every time we post something on, say, LinkedIn, by saying, and if you want to have a meeting with me, just click here and, click on my link. And we're certainly not helping when we are DMing people immediately as soon as they might like something or they might become a connection request on LinkedIn, which is called pitch slapping, by messaging them directly and saying, hey, look, we should have a meeting and talk about how I can help you. It's not working. It's not earning people's trust. It's actually eroding their trust and eroding your personal brand. So these are some of the things people are doing wrong. People are doing a lot of things wrong, but these are the most common lead generation problem things that people are doing wrong that I notice. Okay, so how do we turn the things we're doing wrong and the situation with our customers into something that's more structured? And how do we understand what we're missing? So we're going to use the funnel analogy here. So this here in the middle of the screen is just an analogy. It's just a metaphor for how we get complete strangers on the left-hand side to becoming a customer. And the first thing we want them to do is we really want to be grouping people through what our marketing activities are by making them kind of a member of a community, by categorizing them down into people that I can actually legitimately help, that I am useful for, right? So if we're in a services business, our key is to show everyone how useful we are to them. Now, no services business, no services practitioner is useful to everyone, right? There's always going to be subgroups within these communities of humans, of the billions of humans around the world and the billions of humans on social media. There's always going to be subgroups who you are more useful for. And so the first thing I want you to take away from this today is narrowing the field down to people with your activity, your marketing activities, is narrowing and targeting the right people who you are most useful for and focusing on them and them only. And we'll get to that in the strategy section. Okay. From the people who you're most useful for, we'll all go through a context in our life, right? So I'm going to use an example here. A real estate agent is useful to me because I am a homeowner, and one day I might want to sell my property. I might want to buy an investment property. So there's two parts of usefulness that service provider, which real estate agent, is to me as a person. However, right now I have no intention of selling my house and I have no intention of buying another property. So they're not useful right now. Okay, so what I also want people to understand is when we have this members of these communities, we've got to remember that they are, you might be completely useful to them, but more often than not, you're not useful to them right now. Okay, so the marketing work that we do to generate leads must assume that those who are going to respond to my marketing activities are only the ones who are not only I'm definitely useful for them, but they, that I'm more useful to them now. They're the ones who are going to respond. But we can't forget the others. Just because they didn't respond now doesn't mean that they're bad prospective clients and leads. It probably just means they're not ready to buy our thing or use our service at the moment. They can't see our usefulness in the next couple of weeks or months within their life journey. And that's a really, really important thing to remember, because I'll have small business owners quite often say, like, Stu, I want to do an advertising campaign. So I want to put some ads on Facebook, and this is how we're going to target my customers and rah, rah, rah. And what they'll do is they'll do the advertising campaign. Maybe they'll get 10 leads back, right? And and then they'll come and they'll phone all of the leads, or they'll email them through, and they might book a couple of meetings out of it, and they might get like 2 people who are interested, and then they might get 8 people who are not responsive to their inquiry. They might be they didn't really want to have a meeting, and then I'll get this common thing coming back to me going, Stu, half of those people, or 80% of those people, were tire kickers. They just weren't interested. And I really need you to learn, if you learn anything from this workshop, one thing to be really, really careful about is just because they're not interested in having a meeting with you right now doesn't mean that that meeting isn't going to happen in 2 months' time. So when we capture leads, when they show even a slight interest in our thing, please make sure that we're keeping their email address, their contact details, in order to follow up later, because they're almost definitely interested in your thing at some point, but maybe now's not the right time. Maybe now they don't have the money. Maybe now they don't have the time. Maybe now you haven't really won them over on the idea of using you yet. So we've got to make sure that every lead that we capture in our marketing activities, we keep hold of them. And ideally, that's with an email address or a phone number for text messaging, or the ability to keep phoning them, or even a physical address to post to them. Okay, so when we look at this funnel, we talk about, there's a huge number of marketing activities that we could be doing in our marketing funnel in order to capture those leads and turn them into sales, right? And have sales meetings and book a meeting. Most of you are not doing many of these things. Most of you are probably doing a bit of organic social, maybe a bit of outreach, which is direct messaging people, or right. You might be doing some social ads. A lot of people do that. You might be doing some networking, right? But a lot of you will be missing out on doing things in this middle section here, right? Which is what I call the trust winning section. Okay, and that's lead magnets, and we're going to talk about those specifically a little bit later. Okay, and there's a whole bunch of things that you could be doing in order to get people to actually declare, if we go back one slide, that they're a member of your community, right? They're the people. They're declaring to you by engaging with something that you are actually talking about, which isn't a meeting, right? Things that aren't book a meeting with me right now are all in this category here, which we call lead magnets. And this is a crucial part about getting leads into your business, is really working through lead magnets rather than just trying to sell people a meeting. Okay. And before we go down these tactics of like, here are the things that you can be putting in front of people, the very, very first thing that you need to be doing is really going through a persona mapping model. Okay, all of my coaching clients go through this. We go through it in a lot of detail. I have a coaching program on at the moment. It starts next Tuesday. Today's Thursday the 24th. We start next Tuesday morning. We've got about 20 businesses who are all coming through, and they're going through a 16-week program. And on the third week, we're going to dig deep into persona map development. Now, this is just a sample of a persona map. Feel free to screenshot this now, right, and use it for your own purposes and just blank out some of these things. And I'm going to talk you briefly through it. Okay, so a persona map is really, who is my target customer? So the first thing I say to people is, when you're trying to identify your target customer, go back to your existing customers, right? And what I want you to do is find a couple of those existing customers, and we're going to look for some patterns. Find the customers, though, if we're in services, who are just easy to work with. They really, really like your service. They didn't take a lot of persuasion. They were like, look, this is great. What you do for me is I really value. They pay their bills on time. They're just a joy to work with, right? So when you're targeting personas, don't just think about how much money someone has, or the geographical location, or the demographics. Think about, like, if you were to have another 100 customers sign up to you this year to work with you, which of your customers in your customer base would you love to clone and have them? That's who we really want to be mapping our persona out of. So that's point one in terms of how to choose someone to model from. Point two is, you can have 2 or 3 different personas. Okay, and I won't go into that. We don't have time to go into persona mapping properly today, but let's start with who are the next 10 customers we want. We're going to build this mythical persona around them. So you're going to have some demographic information here on the left about them. Okay, sure. You're going to have some, if they're in business, so if it's a business customer, what I want you to do is, I don't want you to say, I want to target accountancy firms in Wellington. What I want you to do is, I want you to say, we're going to be targeting practice managers who work in accountancy firms in Wellington. So your marketing is always targeting humans, not companies. Okay. A company isn't on social media looking for you. They're not in ads. They're not reading inboxes. Humans are. So you want to be taking, if you are selling to businesses, this is the next really key, crucial thing. If you are selling services to businesses, you need to be finding the people within the businesses that you're targeting, and you need to be building a persona map of the person who is most likely to discover you on the channels that you're marketing them to. Okay, I'm going to repeat that one because it's really, really important. Your persona with B2B is the individual people and their role within that company who are most likely to discover you in the channels that you're marketing. So it may not be, for all of you salespeople out there, it may not be the decision maker that you're marketing to. It may be the person who discovers you, who then promotes your service or your business or you to the decision maker. And that's a really, really important thing to differentiate. If you've got any questions on that, drop them into comments right now. I'm keeping an eye on them as we speak. So we've got a persona map. This person is Tracy. She's an HR manager, right? Working, in this case, we can list the companies that we might be working with. So let's just say Tracy is a construction company, HR manager. She looks after all of the staff, right? And we might be targeting Tracy because we are selling a health and safety service to construction companies in our region. Right now, health and safety service might be some sort of end-to-end consulting gig that we do as a business. Okay, so in that imaginary world, right now, we want to imagine, what does the world of Tracy look like? And we have these 4 quadrants. Okay, so we'll start with really simple stuff, and the simplest one is frustrations. Okay, most people in companies are busy. So I always put in under frustrations, I'm really, really busy. Okay. Often people have these frustrations of, I'm expected to do too much. I've just added the construction element. It might be a frustration, which is, I'm worried about health and safety for our company, but it's all so confusing. So it might be health and safety. If I'm selling a health and safety service, one of my frustrations that I list, and you can list 100 frustrations for Tracy if you want, is that I find health and safety rules and regulations really, really frustrating, really, really confusing. Sorry. It might be that my staff give lip service to health and safety, right? That might be a frustration for Tracy, right? So we hold those frustrations here. Let's go into fears. I might be, if I'm selling health and safety services to Tracy, so don't, I'm making up these fears for the workshop now as we go. It might be that our company gets taken to court by WorkSafe and they blame me because I haven't trained the staff properly. So that might be a fear that Tracy has if we're selling health and safety services to a construction company, right? So we're looking for areas that that person is responsible for, that they have fears. Another fear might be I sign up to some sort of health and safety program or partner and they let me down, just like the last company who I signed up to let me down. Or it might be I sign up to a health and safety service or product and it's just not for us. It's not for construction companies. It's not specific enough. So when you're doing your persona map, you want to be imagining all of the fears from your target customer and listing them. Now, another way of not just imagining these things is to talk to your existing customers and just go, look, we're analyzing why it is that you chose us in the first place. Can we have like 10 minutes in our conversation? Just want to go through a couple of things. So, before we met, what was frustrating you about the situation that you had with with the previous service provider before you took us on board? Tell us what was going on. What were you frustrated with what they were doing, but what was some of the other frustrations in your job? Same deal with fears, like what are the concerns that you have around the stuff that we do? So finding these things out from your customers is really, really crucial. Now, motivations and influences. So who are the people in their world, right? And I say partner here, right? This could be their life partner, or their boss, or their team that are around them, or the other employees that they work from. Who it's really useful for us as marketing people, right? To understand who are the people that are around our customer. So again, just brainstorm and list as many as you can. What might pop out when you start brainstorming the people who influence them is they might be a member of some sort of association. They might have a consultancy firm that they work with for certain things. They might have a business coach or a business advisor. They might have people who are on the peripheral of what you do, right? So if you're targeting HR managers, or if you're targeting, or whoever it is you're targeting, if there are people on the peripheral of what you do but aren't direct competitors, then by putting this influence quadrant together and being detailed, what you might find is some strategic partners that you can approach to help actually get access and trust of your target customer. Okay, then you've got motivations. So again, the motivation of an employee in a middle management position is going to be different to the motivation of a business owner who owns a company. And those motivations are going to be different to someone who might be at the bottom level of a company, or someone who's not employed, or someone who's looking to get fit and lose weight, right? That could be the persona that you're working with, right? Their motivations are going to be completely different from a business motivation. So list and brainstorm all of these sorts of things, right? Now, here's an offer for any of you. If any of you are doing persona mapping and you're DIYing it and you're curious about whether or not you got it right, feel free. My email address is at the end of this webinar, to email me a persona map, or wherever you know me on social media, to DM me and just go, hey, Stu, I've done this persona map. I would love your feedback on it. Okay, so this is the offer. I'm not going to charge you anything for that. I really love it when people follow through from workshops and actually go and do something. So if you go and do something from this workshop and you come up with some persona stuff, I would love it if you came back to me and sent me what you've got, and I'd be happy to provide you, a little bit of time and with some advice over a reply of an email or direct message. Okay, so that's touching on personas. I could spend a day on personas, so I understand we're glossing over things a little bit. So let's take your target customer And now another thing a lot of people don't do is we take them on a journey, okay? So journey mapping looks a little bit like this. So what we want in this particular journey map, we've got it where the key goal, the objective that we want of our customer is to get them to enroll in a course, right? Get them to pay money, enroll on a course. Where they discover us is in social media. So we're actually pop back to the persona, and I missed a bit, so we'll go back to here. Down here is where we might be discovered by our target customer. Okay, so if it's a business-to-business customer that we're targeting, I would be adding LinkedIn, right? And I'd probably put Facebook in there as well. They might be doing online news, so you might have a PR, but obviously there'd be a Google search as well, or there might be Facebook groups that they're asking questions about HR stuff. So pop our channels on our persona map as well. It's just a useful place to have it, because then when you're doing your journey mapping, you take the channels and you put them in this left-hand column here. So along the top of our journey, we've got different phases. So the first phase is where these strangers discover you, okay? Where you're trying to attract them, get their attention, okay? And then there's another phase that we want to take our customers through, which is validation. So you've gotten your attention. They have categorized you. You're now in their brain. And what they want to be doing is they want to validate that you are, in fact, the right type of service provider for their needs. So we call that the validation and research stage. Now, the longest stage, right, is consultation. This is where the target customer might think, geez, look, I know you, like you're a great, Tracy's there in her office. She's found you through Google, or she's seen a post and she's gone, well, I'm going to follow these people. And now she knows that you're in the health and safety services business, right? And she knows that you work with construction companies. So there's that connection. You're in her brain, right? Now, most people, when they discover you, aren't going to need you. That's just a numbers game. Most of them are not going to need you right now, right? They might like and follow you, but it doesn't mean that they need you right now, because they have lots and lots. If you look at their persona map, they have lots of other frustrations in their world. They've got other pressing needs right now. So this is where it's great for when people discover you, that there's a little bit of time that goes by for them to look at perhaps your other posts, or they might sign up to some sort of email and start learning about you. And this is where the consultation phase goes through. And this is not necessarily human consultation. There's no meetings yet, right? But this is where they might get emails, might be a newsletter, or there might be some sort of automated email chain in the journey, okay? Now, a lot of people are like, I'd love to do automated emails to people, but Stu, how do I get them from my Facebook pages onto my newsletter list without going, hey, join my newsletter? And understand that join my newsletter is a really crappy offer and most people don't take it. So we're going to get into how do we take people from, oh, they've discovered you and maybe they're following you, to now getting into, say, a conversation of email that you've automated within your email marketing system, okay? So that's a basic journey map. You can get really complicated journey maps too. Like this one where there's lots and lots of different channels and different ways of approaching people. You might have different types of ad campaigns going. You might also be doing Facebook posts. You might be doing, live streams or co-oping with other partners, those people who are on the, fringes of our customer. And then you might be taken to all these different sorts of offers, right? And then these offers might be taking them to different sorts of automations or sequences or processes, or even, phone calling things in our CRM. And so you can have very, very complicated journey maps. Now, journey maps are great though, because they help you navigate things like, what do I put on my website? Where do I put it? They help you navigate when someone registers for something on my website. What do I say to them in an email? So the mapping process really helps you understand not only what to construct technically in your business to automate things, but also what to say when you're going through this process. Because most people default back to hey, we've got this lead coming through our business. Let's go straight into, let's book a meeting, right? And as I said at the very start, it's one of those things that people get wrong because most people, most tracers in the world, our target customers, are not ready to book a meeting straight away. So how do we go about doing that? This is where we bring in this wonderful concept called the lead magnet, right? And a lot of you would have heard about lead magnets before. We're going to go into that in quite a bit of detail because I think they're a really important part of our sales and marketing funnel. And it's a part that people really give lip service to, don't put in enough time and money and investment to, which is kind of a tragedy because a lot of people will spend hours every week doing the next best social post to get some attention. They'll get a whole lot of people's attention, and those people then will lose attention because there's no follow through. There's nothing of interest to me other than please book a meeting with me. And that, we've talked about it before, not a lot of people are probably booking meetings with you via your social media posts. It's a bit of a tragedy. So let's drill into some of my favorite ways of getting people into this next space. So we go back to our funnel here, and I've kind of just darkened the areas of the funnel that I think are for most service providers for lead generation. Okay, so you could have on your website a pop-up. So someone finds you on Google, they go and look at the website. Okay, great, interested, but I don't really do anything right now. You might have a pop-up, right? And that pop-up might have some sort of lead magnet offer. You might have a whole lot of really, really useful blogs on your website, right? But they don't capture leads. But a couple of things that really are good at capturing leads are webinars or in-person events such as seminars, ebooks, which I'm going to unpack a couple of myths around ebooks because I think they work really, really well. Industry meetups work really well as well. They're different to seminars because the context is I'm going to come and meet some other people in my industry and not necessarily just get sold to at a seminar. Product demos, if you're selling a software product or even, if it's even a hardware product. Surveys are really great too. So we're going to walk through a couple of different lead magnets, and I'm going to talk to you about how we make lead magnets actually work, right? Because just getting ChatGPT to create an ebook for you is doing what all of your competitors are doing. That's probably not working very well. So when we're deciding what to create as a lead magnet and what to say in the lead magnet, what I want you to be doing is going back to that persona and looking at the fears and frustrations. Ideally, those are the things to really focus on. Aspiration might be useful as well, but we'll start with frustrations, right? So we're going to use the made up Tracy on the spot. I made up the fact that she's in a construction company and that we were a health in the context of us. Let's say we're selling health and safety services, right? So I want you to insert whatever services you're selling and your target customer persona to this section, and we'll build a lead magnet model for them. Okay. So let's take a frustration. One of the frustrations might be with Tracy that her staff, we talked about it before, give lip service to health and safety rules. Okay. And that's annoying, right? And she doesn't know how to solve that problem because she's busy doing contracts and employment and recruiting people. She's an incredibly busy person, doesn't have the same knowledge to solve a problem that could be really straightforward to you. So what we're trying to do is in the frustrations that we list with our persona, let's find something that you can solve very, very easily because this is something you do day in, day out. So I'll throw another couple of examples. So let's say you're an accounting firm and your target customer is business owners, right? So with business owners, one of the frustrations that a lot of business owners have is cash flow. So if you're an accounting firm trying to sell accounting services and you're wanting to build a lead magnet, having it under the category of cash flow is highly identifiable as a frustration, right? And then you can build something, you can create something for them, which is going to solve that problem. So now we go into a problem side of things. So let's take a frustration, which is their problem, and let's find one that's a high perceived value. Geez, I would love for my staff to no longer give lip service to health and safety and actually take it as seriously as I know they need to take it, right? For that person, because I know if we go to the fears of our persona, that we could get nailed by WorkSafe, we could get shut down, that could cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars. we could go out of business if our staff trip up on this health and safety stuff, right? So what we want to do is we want to take the high perceived value of one of those frustrations, and that's how we want to choose which frustration we create a lead magnet for. Okay. Now, what we want to do is we want to create something that is a very low perceived cost, ideally free to the customer. Okay. So in the cash flow example for an accountancy firm and small business owners, a great lead magnet would be 6 ways, would be a checklist, which could be something like your monthly checklist to go through your cash flow in Xero to make sure that you can pay your bills on time next month, and that you will have no trouble with your wages bill. So we take the fear of a small business owner, which is not having enough cash to pay the wages bill. It's a massive fear that most business owners have, right? We take that fear, that the frustration of cash flow is really confusing. You can build a 4 or 5 page ebook. Now, if you're an accountant, which steps them through, here's what to do. Go into Xero, log into Xero, go to this report, look at this number. Log into your bank account, go into this report, look at this number. Look at these numbers, do these maths, and then you'll know if you have a problem. And if you have a problem, do X, Y, and Z. Now, some of you, particularly your accountants out there, might be thinking, now what you're doing is you're actually giving away the service for free, and that means people are not going to buy your service. But the truth is, with lead magnets, even if you give away explicit details on how to do something, you've proven to the customer you've achieved what you needed to achieve. And there's a much higher likelihood that the person who is reading that lead magnet, who's downloaded it, will trust you over any other accountant that they decide to work with. Okay. The other thing is, most lead magnets get downloaded, they get scanned, they get read, and then people go, I don't have time for this accounting stuff. I'm going to go and talk to these people. They seem to know what they're talking about. So understand that the lead magnet, although what I'm instructing you to do is give them specific solutions in detail, right? And I'm instructing you to do as a service provider is give away your knowledge, right? But a small part of it, of a highly frustrating area of their life, which to them holds a very high perceived value, I'm asking you in your lead magnet to give it away, right? And what you're going to do is you're going to build this equity within their subconscious, which says, geez, I didn't pay $1 to this company, and now I have this framework, which really, I know exactly how this will work. And I think this is going to really help me. So when they do need you, specifically for something more complicated, they're going to choose you over all of the other randoms in their world. Okay. So low perceived cost. Ultimately, I recommend your lead magnets are free, if possible, in exchange for an email address and phone number. Okay. Low perceived, by the way, if you're going to do a lead magnet and you're going to show the customer, give away some sort of resource for free, we want to show the customer that it doesn't, that the thing that we're giving them is really quick and easy to do as well. You don't want to create a lead magnet which is going to take a customer all day to figure out how to do. You want to pick something, high degree of frustration, high perceived value, that's easy for them to fix. You give the customer a really, really quick win in your lead magnet. Okay. And that quick win is a low risk to them, which when you're promoting your lead magnet is going to make it really easy for them to go, geez, I'm just going to download this. This makes sense. Or I'm going to do this thing that they're offering. Okay. In your lead magnet, do not sell anything to them. Okay. So a common mistake when people are doing lead magnets, it might be an ebook, it might be a quiz, it might be a checklist, it might be a video, right? It might be a video free training course to do X, Y, and Z. Okay. They turn that into 20% solution, 80% sales. Okay. So the worst lead magnets that I see are where they say, where they offer to solve a problem. Maybe it's the health and safety problem that we talked about before. they offer that it's in the form of a video, or it's of a PDF. You download the video, the PDF. The video PDF reinforces the problem, states the problem, and just at a very, very high level talks about how to solve the problem as an abstract. It doesn't specifically show you how to solve the problem. It just abstractly says, you'd solve the problem by going into Xero and looking at your reports, or you would solve the problem by talking through your staff about the needs. Like when a lead magnet doesn't solve a problem, it actually has a negative effect on the person. It's like, oh, you duped me, right? And now I get these emails from you. So you really must, if you want your lead magnets and your lead generation to be successful, you have to solve a problem, right? And I have been on the back end of so many campaigns we've sent out where we've legitimately solved problems, where we've been worried a little bit that actually the customer doesn't need us anymore because we've solved the problem and they're just going to DIY it, right? And there are people who will do that, right? But those campaigns are generally the most successful campaigns that we've put out over many years, because they earn people's trust. You have proven to them that you know how to solve a problem and that you're generous. Okay? I'll repeat that. A great lead magnet solves a problem completely, right? And you've now proven to them that you are the person in their world who knows how to solve that problem, and you're generous enough to give them the solution. Okay? So if we take all the way back to that first slide, we've taken a stranger, okay, and we want to turn them into a customer. Our bridge between those two places is to win their trust that not only are you capable at what you're doing, but you're also easy to work with. You're the sort of person they want to work with. And most of us humans want to work with people who are generous and giving. Okay? So that is why I really focus a lot with people saying, if you're going to do a lead magnet, please, please, please solve a problem completely with that lead magnet. Don't just talk around the edges. And also solve a small problem, very, very detailed, right? As opposed to, you're not going to solve all of the problems in the world. Just solve one really small, high frustration problem that has a lot of value to them. Okay. Now, ebooks. So let's go through the different types of lead magnets, and we'll distill a few myths, and we'll talk about what are working in 2024, 2025. So ebooks still work. Okay. I've had a number of different businesses, working with 2 different businesses right now on Facebook campaigns. We've got ebooks as a primary lead magnet. One of the things that so they are still relevant. They still do work. People still download them. Okay. One thing I would say is keep them short and succinct. You don't need to have a 25-page comprehensive ebook, a masterclass guide to X, Y, and Z. I would recommend mini ebooks over 5 topics that you can test in your marketing strategy over the next 5 to 10 months, right? So maybe you're doing a different ebook every 2 months. That's going to give you something fresh and new to promote in your social media, in your ads, on your website. And you'll be able to and you take 5 different frustrations and you solve those 5 micro problems with a 2 to 4 page ebook, right? That you're not selling anything in the ebook, you're just solving the problem. Sure, your contact details and what you're doing is at the end of the ebook, right? But you are fully solving the problem, or fully solving a small part of the problem, and that they can own this as their own little manual, right? Company I worked with in the last 2 years in America, we looked at our analytics, and we went through and we found, I think we had an email list that we built over that period of about 10,000 people, highly technical audience, global audience around the world. We went through the engagement analytics of the emails, and we found that some of those people had downloaded 4 ebooks. Right, quite a few of them had downloaded ebook after ebook after ebook. And our sales team went through and sold to just about each and every one of those customers, because we knew out of the 10,000 people in our email list, we knew that these people trusted us. We knew that they were absolutely across our persona, and that they and that they had held these problems, and they knew who we were. So when the calls came through to them, they were much more agreeable to meetings and to do a trial of our software product at the time. Okay. Again, I'll reinforce this. Don't sell in the ebook, right? An ebook isn't a pitch, an ebook is a solution. Have your contact details in there, of course. Put a photo about you, a photo of you, and a bio about you, as opposed to pitching yourself. Actually, just show them more of who you are. All right. We're going to go from ebooks, webinars, workshops, seminars, events are one of the top most successful mechanisms of getting leads who will turn into sales. Why is that? Because you are proving to them that not only are you good enough to talk about the subject matter, right? You're so good at talking about the subject matter that you're willing to put your own self, kind of your own neck on the chopping block, and do it publicly, right? So the difference between someone who will offer a one-on-one session versus someone who will do a workshop or webinar is experience and confidence, right? So that comes across on webinars and workshops, right? It comes across very strongly and builds your authority in them. So when they decide to choose someone for that future service, you are going to be high on their list if you're doing webinars and workshops versus you just offering one-on-one free consulting sessions. Okay. If you're not really confident or you don't have enough topics to talk about in your webinars, a great way of doing this is finding people who are adjacent to your own expertise but targeting the same persona, right? And this is why persona mapping is so important, right? Because we look at the people who influence them. HR people, you have recruitment people who are around them, you have all sorts of different HR advice, you have legal advisors. You can find the leaders within your industry and you can say to them, I'd love to do a webinar with you. We're going to do all the heavy lifting. We're going to put it on Zoom or whatever. We're going to invite a bunch of people. Would you be my guest on my workshop? Right? That's a great way of one, networking with people who will probably refer to you to their clients. Two, building your own brand authority by being adjacent to other brand authority leaders. Okay, just by inviting them onto your workshop lifts you and your brand up to their level. Okay, so the more popular people or the more famous people for some sort of industry authority level that you get, the better. Okay, when you're doing workshops, please don't do the 1980s. Half of the workshop is talking about me and how we help customers, and here's a slide with all of our customers, and here's a slide about me on my holidays, and get straight to the point on webinars and workshops in 2025. Reason I say this is because people have low attention span. We've already said in our persona that most of them are extremely busy. They're not there to hear about you. That comes later. They're there to have a solution to the problem of what the webinar or workshop is there to solve. Today, some of you are here to learn about lead magnets. I didn't muck around too long and talk about myself. I talked a little bit about myself, but mostly I started with the problem that I lived through as a business owner in getting leads. Okay, so when you guys are doing your webinars and workshops, I want you to really learn from this that your introduction stuff really needs to be compacted. Get right to the juice, get right to the important stuff as soon as you can, and solve problems in your webinars and workshops, and don't try and pitch yourself the whole time, right? I could go on again about webinars and workshops all day, but let's jump into surveys. Surveys are neat, particularly if you don't have a lot of audience, okay? Surveys are something that in some regions you can get away with cold emailing people, okay? Because you're not pitching anything, you're not selling anything, you're wanting them to engage in an industry survey, which helps them understand what everyone else in their industry is thinking or doing or how they're acting, okay? So the recruitment industry do a really, really good job of surveys with things like pay and salary guides, right? They get lots and lots of respondents. They all become, they're all ticking the box when they do the survey saying, you can email me now, right? So surveys are a great way to go in cold, okay? Now, one of the things a lot of people do is they'll do a survey which is really about what I want to know about people, and that's the wrong thing to be doing, okay? You don't want to be doing a sales survey where you're just trying to fill up your CRM with useful facts for your sales team. You want to flip it over. Go back to your persona, go back to your target customer, and you want to go, geez, what do they live in? What are their fears about the industry that they're in? What are their fears about the life that they are in, right? Let's go in and get them. What answers do they want from their peers? Not from you, from their peers, okay? And then you go and ask them those questions, and you offer them as a result, as a incitement or incentive to participate in the survey. They get a copy of the report from all of the people who, of all of the results, so they understand what, and what I'm thinking as your target customer the same as other people, or have I got it wrong? So a lot of people will respond to benchmarks, just because benchmarking surveys, because they want to know, am I paying my staff the right amount, right? If we're specific about it, right, it just takes a little bit of thought. We'll go back into the health and safety thing, right? Maybe you send out a list of health and safety practices, right, to the construction industry, right? So you go and find all of the construction companies in the country, you find all of their health and HR people, and there are ways to get these lists. You email all of them saying, like, this is the construction health and safety survey. We want you to benchmark yourself. It's confidential. No one's going to get all this data, but you will understand where your company sits amongst all other construction industry companies on these scales. That's a really powerful tool to that target customer, because they can use that report to get what they want in their company from their boss, to get budget, or they can just be like, oh, great, we're good. Where we are in the marketplace is good. That's good peace of mind. You're addressing one of their fears with a survey. So surveys are fantastic way of getting leads, right? Or getting people into your database with a permission, okay? You can also use your survey results as content, right? Because you're building all of these graphs, you're getting this insights you can take from it. You could do a survey of a marketplace, and then you could do a webinar or a workshop or a seminar which talks to the results. And you might have a panel session, which is the next one, with a whole lot of industry experts who also talk to the results. So surveys are an amazing way to kind of start a marketing strategy over time. And what you're doing is you're really proving that you're an industry leader, because you've got all of this data coming through in your content, and you're not doing what I said at the start, which is one of the things not to do, which is just constantly pitching your services to people. You're actually giving them something functional and useful, and demonstrating your usefulness to them as a leader in your industry. Okay. Another thing for surveys, this is a great way to go, okay, here's a thing that people were really interested in responding to. Let's write an ebook. Okay, so that's 3 really good lead magnet tactics. We're getting close to our time. Well, in fact, I've just about run out, but we're going to talk about getting sales now, right? So we've got all of these leads. We've done all of these lead magnet tactics. A lot of people think now's the time to do a sales meeting, but what I want you to be, what I want to leave you with for this webinar is actually talk about nurturing. So now I've got someone who's a lead in my CRM or in my email marketing system because they've responded to a survey or they've responded to an ebook, they've downloaded it. Before you go ahead and dive in and ask them for a sales meeting, please, I would love for you to be thinking about email or SMS automation, which is setting up a chain of emails that says, thanks for downloading, here's an example. Thanks for downloading our health and safety guidebook for getting staff engagement, right? This is a little bit about us. This is what we do. And then you must prime them for the next email. As someone who has downloaded this last ebook, in a couple of weeks' time or in a week's time, we're going to email you another guide, right? And that other guide might be a video of the last webinar you did, right? So you're automating this so that you don't have to go in and do it. And they're going, okay, great. I downloaded the ebook. I got the ebook immediately. That was useful, right? Now I've got this email from someone. And the first thing that your customers are going to be thinking is, here comes the sales pitch. So a really good trick right now is in that automation email is to not sell to them. Don't ask them for the meeting. Don't ask them to buy anything. Don't ask them to trial anything. Tell them, thank you. This is a little bit about me as a human, maybe the CEO or the head of sales or customer service, doesn't matter, right? This is about me. I'm Dave. Outside of being a health and safety leader, I also have a dog named Ralph. Whatever it is, right? You're proving your humanity to these people without selling to them. I'm going to send, in a week's time, our systems are going to automatically send you a copy of the recording of our last workshop, which was for HR managers, specifically around topic X to do with health and safety. If you ever need me, now you've got my email address. Leave it there, right? Automatically, a week later, you're sending them the email that you promised them. Okay, so you people in sales who are watching this are going to be like, aha, I understand where we're going here now because we made a promise, we're following through, right? So you're proving, your automated email chain is proving that you're someone who follows through with it, and you're showing them another angle of solution, again, without selling. Further down that chain, you might then be looking at going, look, hey, so here's our journey map, right? Here's another useful thing, right? And then here's the fourth email, right? Third or fourth or fifth email, here's an email offering exclusive access to buy my service. So maybe that's like, hey, I'd love to, it's great that you downloaded the ebook and that you've received the webinar. If you've got a moment, I'd love to have a coffee with you some stage over the next 3 weeks, right? So you can automate all of that stuff. And you're doing it in a way where there's not a lot of action and attention or effort at your end. Now, the trick here is when you've got your automation going and you've got a few leads going through it, is you go into the back end of your reporting and you can see who opened those emails. And then you can start building your actual prospect list functionally from that. And you don't need very, very complicated tools. You can do this with MailChimp. You can do this with MailerLite. You can do this with HubSpot. You can do this with all manner of CRMs and automation tools. You can actually say, of all of the people who downloaded my ebook or went to my webinar or participated in the survey, how many of them have opened email 3? Right. Those are the people that my sales team are going to follow up, but they're going to follow up this way because we've really, we really want to make sure that we follow up in a way that respects and gives grace to the conversation that we've already had with them. All righty. And that is that. We are 3 minutes over my 1 hour. So thank you so much for your attention. I had a couple of thanks for the feedback. We've got a B2M online coaching and marketing. I don't know who that person is, so drop your name in there at some stage because I'd love to know who you are as a human for commenting. Thank you for that. Like I said, I'm going to monitor the YouTube channel comments for a bit of time. So if anyone wants to drop anything in, if you're watching this not live and you've got any questions or comments, dive on in there. My email address is right here, shoestringmarketer.co. Really want to appreciate you pass on my appreciation for you spending some time with me today. And I'm always open and happy for people to just throw your random marketing problems and issues at me. And I've got a marketing program that starts next week, so it's not too late to join that. I'm happy to, connect with you if that sounds interesting. You want to dive into persona mapping and marketing strategy in more than just 1 hour. It's a 16-week program, right? If you want to join the 20-odd business owners who are doing that now, by all means, jump on in, send me an email, and we'll have a chat about it, right? You will not get the hard sell. I've already told you that this is not something that I do. But I'm doing a lot of this sort of stuff. So, feel free to follow me on these channels, and you'll get more and more free stuff from me for the rest of this year. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. And see you next time. Cheers.